I do want to talk just for a second about the UNLV story as it continues to evolve. The UNLV story as it continues to evolve. Because we're going to have on the podcast, remember, we have a pod-only hour for this show. And our guy Bernie Fratto is going to join us on the podcast. Does the Bernie Fratto Show, which you can hear weekends on Fox Sports Radio. He's like Mr. Vegas. And the claims are now that, like, look, and again, it's a lot of, you can tell a lot of what somebody knows, not based upon what they say, but sometimes based upon what they don't say. That makes sense? Right? So it appears like we know what happened. An assistant coach said something about $100,000, and the kid went with it. And then when they got there was no $100,000. And I'm going to just do a real quick storytelling for you. Okay. Real quick storytelling, because money is involved and they're both two professional stints. And it happened essentially in back-to-back weeks for me. I was playing professionally in Israel, playing for a club called Maccabi Ra'anana. If you play in Israel as an Israeli, and that's what at the time I had dual citizenship, so I could, because I'm Jewish, you can make what's called aliyah, and you can become a citizen of Israel while maintaining your citizenship in the United States, vote in elections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in order to do it, you have to go live there for a year, and also you have to put yourself in the pool to be in the Army. Okay. We've told the Army story a little bit. We'll tell that a different time. This is not what it's about. It's about money. Okay. So I was playing, and we were having a little bit of a disappointing season as a club, but part of it is the year before they were in the biggest of Euro leagues and kind of overspent in order to do so, and they were behind financially. It was during Intifada. It was in 2001. It was in 2002. It was not a great time financially in Israel, although it was an incredibly safe time. I distinctly remember. Okay, when you're an Israeli, when you're an American, you get paid in dollars. When you're Israeli, you get paid in shekels. What's the difference? Well, the difference is, again, they have to find the exact dollar amount to pay you. And they pay you, actually, they wire it in dollars into your American account. Whereas they wire it in shekels into your American account. There's the factor of the currency exchange rate. So I was getting my payments several days to a week late. And what the club was doing, because the money was tight, was they would wait until the exchange rates were more favorable so they didn't have to pay as much money. So I went to the president of the club and I said, sir, because I'm an Israeli, I got to stay 2 extra months. I got to go to basic training with the Army. I wouldn't actually been in the Army, would have been a desk job, but I would have had to stay after we had lost at some point in the playoffs to get my May check and get my June check. I said, if you will give me every penny that you owe me, I'm going to have to go to court for it. Just look me in the eye. Tell me as a man, I'm going to get every penny on my contract and in dollars. And he said, we will do the best we can. And I gave him another chance, and he said the exact same thing. So I left. And then I went to the ABA, which was a minor league, and this was in the early years of the G League, was then called the D League, but no one wanted to be in the D League because you didn't make any money. Very few people got called up, and it was a 3-year guaranteed. So it was a $50,000 buyout, but in order to get bought out by somebody outside of the NBA, they had to pay $150,000. People aren't paying $150,000 to buy out that level of player. So the ABA was a minor league that had a very small buyout, incredibly talented rosters. Most of the rosters were made up of guys that had played in the NBA and a couple that were trying to make it in the NBA. All those guys were trying to get back. And I will not forget the fact that my first practice, I flew in from Israel to Detroit, Michigan, and we played the Detroit Dogs 2 nights in a row at a junior college. It was a good crowd. Then we flew to Phoenix, where we were staying in Tempe, and we were practicing at a church in Scottsdale, a church where we played. It was actually like a 3,000-seat, really nice church. And I don't remember if we practiced there, we practiced at a high school, whatever. But I remember getting on the practice floor and all of the rest of the players refused to practice. And when the coach walked in, they were like, hey, why are you guys not practicing? Like, we ain't got paid, man. We ain't playing till we get paid. And for me, because I had just signed with the team, I just played in those games, I wasn't owed any additional money. So I didn't have the right. So I actually had a one on none practice where all of my teammates were waiting for the owner to show up while I ran around and practiced in Arizona in the ABA. And sure enough, the owner did walk in. And again, I'll never forget it. You know, all the players are sitting down and he's like, look, guys, we're going to get you paid or whatever. We got to get you right away. But why aren't you practicing? And one of my teammates said, if we worked at McDonald's and we didn't get paid, why would we keep working at McDonald's? Right? So my thing is this with the UNLV deal. And this is a real thing. And I would tell my own players this because I've had this experience. Okay. There are NIL contracts that exist even at Green Bay. And within reason, right? You have a contract. You're supposed to be paid at a particular point in time. We did this with our players. So everyone gets a cost of attendance check. Okay, that's your normal scholarship check. Plus they factor in what it would cost to live in Green Bay. And then if you have an NIL check, that's an NIL check. And our thing was we weren't back in school till September 4th. Those were the first days of all payments, and guys had rent that was supposed to be due the 1st. And it's not like they go like, don't worry about rent, I got it. They had to do first and last already, and so they're a little tight. I called the landlord and said, hey, can we get this pushed back till September 6th? They all got their checks. It was all fine. But you do run the risk of guys going like, hey, man, I ain't doing anything until I get my check. And I actually understand it. The caveat is this, though. And again, I don't know. I was not involved. I understand what the former UNLV quarterback is putting out there as his narrative. If you agreed to an amount and you're paid for that amount, then you play. None of this other nonsense matters. And if you sign a contract, then you absolutely play. But his mistake was he shouldn't have played one single down without having a contract. One single down without having a contract. The Pro of the Week will be Josh Allen of the Bills, who led the Buffalo Bills to a one-sided win over the Jags on Monday Night Football. He threw 4 touchdown passes, QB rating of 98.3. Congrats to Josh Allen being our Express Pros Pro of the Week. Speaking of which, Josh Allen had an interesting quote Monday. I think did we do it in the pod or did we do it in the radio show? Okay. I think we did it here. Obviously, Stephon Diggs was a guy that's super talented, but we know his chili ran hot on the sidelines. So Josh Allen didn't name him by name, but was he talking about him when he described with this quote why his season has gone so well and his receiving core is playing so well?
When guys get to buy into this and really understand, like, I may not get the ball 4 or 5 times thrown to me a game, but the 1 or 2 times I do, I'm going to have opportunities to be in the end zone. And it's a fun and wonderful thing when you got a bunch of guys that don't care about the stats, they don't care about the touchdowns.
I actually truly believe that he didn't mean anything by mentioning Stephon Diggs, even if it ends up feeling like it's Stephon Diggs. I actually believe that. I actually believe that. Maybe I'm gullible.